All right, I would like to share another beautiful story with you. This one is called The Table Where Rich People Sit, written by Byrd Baylor, who's a Native American author, and pictures by Peter Parnell. The really neat, well, there's quite a few neat things about this book in my eyes. It's got a super good message and theme to it, and the illustrations are phenomenal. So, what you're going to notice as I read the story is some of the illustrations, when you look closer, actually turn into different objects. So this illustrator has a really great talent at bringing out different pictures inside of pictures. Also, I want to ask you a question. What does it mean to be rich? Rich has a lot of different meanings. Okay, when you think of that word rich, a lot of us think of money, right? So I want you to think about that as I'm reading the story and what you think the author was trying to get across to you as the reader. Kind of goes along with being grateful and counting our blessings about the things that we have, the things that we think make us rich. Okay, so this is called The Table Where Rich People Sit. And it's written in a different style. You're going to notice, look at the text. So it's not written in paragraphs. It's written kind of like a poem in a way, but it's a story. So Bert Baylor has a lot of different books out there, but this is one of my favorites. So, and as the year goes on, maybe I'll share a couple more with you. So here we go. The Table Where Rich People Sit. I actually met this author at a conference years and years ago. All right, so a lot of her stories take place in the Southwest, Arizona area. Okay. If you could see us sitting here at our old scratched up homemade kitchen table, you'd know that we aren't rich. But my father is trying to tell us we are. Doesn't he notice my worn out shoes? Or that my little brother has patches on the pants that he wears to first grade? And why does he think that old rattletrap truck? Why does he think that old rattletrap truck is parked by our door? You can't fool me, I say. We're poor. Would rich people sit at a table like this? My mother sort of pats the table and she says, well, we're rich and we sit here every day. Sometimes I think I'm the only one in my whole family who's really sensible. Maybe I should mention that my parents made this table out of lumber somebody else threw away. They even had a celebration when they finished it. Understand, I like this table fine. All I'm saying is you can tell it didn't come from a furniture store and it just doesn't look like a table where rich people would sit. So she's kind of confused. But my mother thinks if all the rulers of the world could get together at a friendly wooden table in somebody's kitchen, they would solve their arguments in half the time. And my father says it wouldn't hurt to have a lot of cookies piled up on a nice blue plate that everyone could reach without asking. But tonight, it's our kitchen, it's our argument, our family meeting, our very spicy ginger cookies piled up on my mother's one good blue flowered plate, exactly in the center of the table. I'm the one who called the meeting, and the subject is money. And I say we don't have enough of it. Okay, so they're all sitting around at a family meeting. I tell my parents they should both get better jobs so we can buy a lot of nice new things. I tell them I look worse than anyone in school. Let's see if I can get this in here a little bit better. Okay. I hate to bring this up, I say, but it would be helpful if you both had a little bit more ambition. They look surprised. You could see they never think about things we need. Right here, I might as well admit that my parents have some strange ideas about working. They think the only jobs worth having are jobs outdoors. They want cliffs or canyons or desert or mountains around them when they work. They even want a good view of the sky. They always work together and their favorite thing is panning gold, piling us up into that beat up truck and heading for the rocky desert hills or back in some narrow mountain gully where all the roads are just coyote trails. They love to walk the wide arroyos and the dry stream beds where little flecks of gold are found. They used to tell us that the truck just knew which roads to take and that coyotes showed them where to look for gold, but I never did quite believe them. After a month or two out there, they always had a little bit of gold to sell, but you can tell it never made them rich. As far as I can see, it was just an excuse to camp in some beautiful wild place again. They don't mind planting fields of sweet corn or alfalfa. They like to pick chili and squash and tomatoes. They put up strong fences and train wild young horses. But they say they can't stand to be cooped up indoors. So now, of course, my dad is asking, how many people are as lucky as we are? But I've called this meeting and I say, I bet we could have more money working in a building somewhere in town. Remember our number one rule, he says? We have to be able to see the sky. You could look through a window, I say, but they won't even think about it. They are the most happy and content outside. Do you see what I mean about being the sensible one? Do you see the horse in there? Finally, my mother says, all right, mountain girl, we're going to explain how we figure our money. You can be the bookkeeper tonight. She hands us each a pencil and some yellow paper. She gives some to my little brother too, though he'll just sit there pretending to write when we write, or he'll draw people dancing up in the sky. And by the way, my name's not really Mountain Girl. They call me that because I was born in a cabin on the side of a mountain where they were looking for gold one summertime in Arizona. They say it was the most magical place, the most beautiful mountain they've ever climbed. Maybe it was, but you know how those two exaggerate. Anyway, they wanted my first sight to be that mountainside, so they held me up outdoors at sunrise when I was just about 8 minutes old. The truth is, I still like that sunrise quite a bit. So her name, they call her Mountain Girl. And my little brother, they call him Ocean Boy. They say since I already had the best mountain for my first sight, they thought they ought to find the most beautiful ocean for him. I think they went all over Mexico looking for a place where ocean touches jungle. And they had to find a certain kind of purple blue night sky and the exact green waves they like. They held him up to see those waves for his first sight. Someday we're all going to go back to his green ocean and my high mountain. But for now, even though they claim to be so rich, they can't take us anywhere at all. No wonder I had to call this meeting about money. Can you believe my father is sitting here looking me straight in the eye and saying, but Mountain Girl, I thought you knew how rich we were. I say, I can't get very far in this discussion if you won't even admit that we're poor. I'll prove it to you right now, he says. Let's make a list of the money we earn in a year. How much is that, I ask. I'll write it down. But he says, not so fast. We have a lot of things to think about before we add them up. What kind of things? My mother says, we don't just take our pay in cash, you know. We have a special plan so we get paid in sunsets too. And in the having time to hike around the canyons and look for eagles' nests. But I say, can't you give me one single number to write down on this paper? To start with, so we start with $20,000. That's how much my father says it's worth to him to work outside, where he can see the sky all day and feel the wind and smell the rain an hour before it's really raining. He says it's worth that much to be where it feels like singing. He can sing out loud and no one will mind. I have just written 20,000 when my mother says, you'd better make that 30,000 because it's worth at least another 10 to hear coyotes howling in the hills. So I write 30,000. Then she remembers that they like to see long distances and faraway mountains that change color about 10 times a day. That's worth another 5,000 to me, she said. I'm not surprised because my mother claims to be an expert on mountain shadows in the desert. She says she can tell time by the way those colors change from dawn to dark. I scratch out what I had written and write $35,000. See what's happening? Ooh, look at that picture. My father thinks of something else. When a cactus blooms, you should be there to watch it because it might be a color you won't ever see again any other day of your life. How much would you say that color is worth? 50 cents, my brother says, but they decide on another 5,000. So now I write $40,000. But I'd forgotten how much my father likes to make bird sounds. He can copy any bird, but he's best at the white-winged doves and ravens and red-tailed hawks and quail. He's good at eagles too and great horned owls. So of course he has to add another 10,000 for having both daybirds and nightbirds around us. I cross out what I had written and I write $50,000. Gosh, they are rich. Ooh, look at that picture. Now my mother says, let's see what our mountain girl is worth to us. I'm beginning to catch on to their kind of thinking. So I suggest I'm worth $10,000, even though my little brother begins to laugh. Don't underestimate yourself, my father says. Remember all those good lists you make for us? He's right. I do. I make a list of the best books each of us has read and a list of all the ones we want to read again. I also make a list of all the animals each of us has seen and the ones we still want to see most out in the wild, not in a zoo. Mine is a mountain lion. I have dreamed of him 4 times and I've already seen his track. My father chose a grizzly bear. My mother wants to see a wolf and hear it call. And my brother can't decide between a dolphin and a whale. I remember every one because I make the list. I am to end up deciding I'm worth about $1,000,000. I say I don't think I am. Oh, they end up deciding I'm worth $1,000,000. I say I don't think I am, but I write it down anyway. In fact, it turns out that every one of us is worth $1,000,000. So we have $4,050,000. That's a lot of money. I realize I want to add 5,000 myself for the pleasure I have wandering out in the open country alone, free as a lizard, not following trails, not having a plan, just turning whatever way the wind turns me. They say that's certainly worth 5,000. So now that makes $4,055,000. Finally, my brother says to put down $7 more for the nights we get to sleep outside underneath the stars. We all say $7 doesn't seem to be enough. We talk him into making it 5,000. Now my paper says $4,060,000, and we haven't even started counting the actual cash. To tell you the truth, the cash part doesn't really seem to matter anymore. I suggest it shouldn't even be on the list of our kind of riches. So the meeting is over. The rest of them have gone outside to see the new sliver of moon, but I'm still sitting here at our nice homemade kitchen table with one cookie left on my mother's good blue flowered plate. And I'm writing this book about us. I kind of pat the table. I'm kind of glad it's ours. In fact, I think the title of my book is going to be The Table Where Rich People Sit. So what do you think the theme of the story is, boys and girls? Money maybe isn't as important as we think it is. It's all the other things that make us fulfilled and happy. So that is my story.